Oh, hello. Well, we're back again. I know. I think I've said twice now that we are done with summer of 2025, but well, why be done with it? What else is going on, really? There is the MSG announcement that took place while the shows were taking place, but I think we all get it. And quite honestly, it's a little boring to talk about yet another run at MSG. Very impressive that they get it every year. Mary and I were talking about that, like how many people are just like, who, what, how? I mean, there has to be other bands that want it. So, anyways, we got plenty of time before MSG, and there's always like a best of favorite shows, favorite sets, best jams. I think the list I have here today is somewhere in between. They are some of my favorites. I wouldn't argue that it was like the best of the summer. I want to call them like underrated or underappreciated, overlooked, but in some cases they won't be. So I'm not sure exactly what to call this list. I guess overlooked, maybe forgotten already, And I originally went all the way back to Mexico, the Piper on January 30th in Mexico. But that's going to be the only mention of anything going that far back. Really, we're just going to April and almost eliminating these 8 recent shows. Like the recent Sense and Subtle Sounds was great. Was that in Hampton? A solid Ether Edge there in Hampton. So we'll talk about that a little bit too. I was informed by SE that when they went into Ether Edge that everybody sat down. Now, not that every Ether Edge is great, and I certainly wouldn't defend the first 4 or so minutes of that song. But like, go back to the Hollywood Bowl, April 26th, Ether Edge at the Hollywood Bowl. If you must, skip the first 4 minutes and 20 seconds and then just enjoy the rest. That one I think is certainly being overlooked by some. I mean, if people are sitting down during Ether Edge, that's just like, it's not, they've got no hope for the song. Then, perhaps they stood up 4 or 5 minutes in. I'm not sure. And again, like I said, Ether Edge as a song, not, not performed live, I'm probably not going to argue for. Then we'll just stay at the Hollywood Bowl. For that, You Enjoy Myself. Probably not overlooked. Probably not underrated. It's just maybe slowly being forgotten already because they did so much incredible stuff after that. As I wrote here, the Howood Bowl. And was there no vocal jam that night, right? Just a straight jamming through. They didn't even do the, or did they? I don't even think that night, I think there was no vocal jam maybe. They didn't even do the vocal jam back into a jam thing. And then the cities from Forest Hills, slightly more recent here. I think maybe even a first setter. A couple of good cities this summer. A couple of really good gumbos this summer. But I think the Forest Hills cities, July 23rd, worth putting on a playlist for overlooked. And then, I talked about it a bunch back early in the summer. The Manchester Stash. Still, after it was all said and done, one of my favorites. Probably my most listened to song was the Manchester Stash, June 21st. Very overlooked again here is going to be the Oblivion from Boulder. You could maybe even argue there was a better Oblivion. Was that also Hampton maybe? Or Alpharetta? Alpharetta or Hampton had a pretty good Oblivion as well, but I thought the Boulder one was my favorite. Again, might have been a first setter. There's some great first set stuff this year. The Tube from Chicago's, July 19th. Was that the... Yeah, that was the two. I feel like maybe Tube's another one. Tube, Gumbo, and Cities. Songs that kind of have that kind of funk feel to them that you just feel like they could just destroy it every single time. Phish Destroys America style, Well, the Chicago Tube, maybe we didn't go Phish Destroys America style, but it was great. And then the Bathtub Gin from Birmingham, really the only recent thing I wrote on the list. Probably could X that out. We was trying not to go back to Mexico. Not say as recent as Birmingham. And then obviously, there was the Sand and Tweezer, Down with Disease, What's Going Through Your Mind. They were throughout the summer, they were all 30 to 40 minutes. And, that What's Going Through Your Mind in Pittsburgh might have been like, I guess the most impressive thing. Although the Sand was awesome too. They dropped a 30-minute Sand on us this summer. That midsummer, or whatever you want to call it, part 1 of summer. I'm almost visioning April. I'm really visioning as a 3-parter, but April was back in the spring, a total different thing. And then obviously, I don't think overlooked was the Moon Age Daydream and Isabella. Isabella, like right there with it, neck and neck. If one was your favorite cover over the other, you probably wouldn't get an argument either way. But I thought Moon Age Daydream and Isabella, along with Monster, songs that like don't really jam out, and often first setters. Well, maybe not Isabella. So, I don't know. I guess that was my 5 minutes of what you may have forgotten already. You know what it was? It was the Ether Edge slander that got me thinking about this, and then I re-listened to that Manchester Stash. Certainly people have forgot about that. And then right after that on my playlist was the Oblivion from Boulder. So, and then yeah, at the end I did have the Sense and Subtle Sounds from Hampton and the Birmingham Gin. Now look at this. I come out here to avoid cats, and the neighbor's cat showing up. What's up, buddy? What you doing? You see over here to protest monsters, maybe, is one of the better songs of the summer. Several of those evolved songs. Life Saving became a jammer. Obviously Oblivion mentioned. What you doing, buddy? Ether Edge on some people's hit list, though. Oh, it jam. When it hits, it jams. And then Hey Stranger, another one. It's not always a hit, but when it does, it's right there. You know, some of the better stuff they got going. Whoa, what'd you do, Cassie? Took my phone out, bud. Whatever. It's the culprit. Boom. Thanks for tuning in. What was your underrated? Oh yeah, I was also going to be like, throw some underrated songs at me. I'm sure you guys will. Overlooked, underrated, forgotten, underappreciated. Boom.